Hey everybody, we're back. We're back, and did I take a comfort break that was long? Well, hey Lavelle, I think I spelled her name wrong. It's not it's EAD. Ooh, y'all look at me. I was eating a mango. Oh, can't take me anywhere. That's all the mango on my face. I probably got it on my teeth too. Yeah, y'all can't take me anywhere. Mango all up in the face. Hold on a second, y'all. I just read an article and everyone is suspect. Everyone is suspect for real. All right, guys. Let's go ahead on and I'm gonna go fair act use. Let's go put our disclaimer up. Hold on. All right. Copyright disclaimer of 19 section. I'm sorry. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for the purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. So, guys, we're going to go and take a look at this. Karen Reed. I'm going to correct the spelling when I come back to it. I'll correct the spelling. So, Karen Reed is what we're going to be talking about today. We're gonna play it. Hey, I was trying to support your channel, but it seemed like I can't type. I see you typing. I can't type it in bright. Huh? Are you talking about the super chat? Are you talking about Cash App? It's infamous $ infamous Sylvia. INFAMOUS SYLVIA. Oh, my backup channel. Okay. Somebody put the link in for my backup channel. We're going to do the backup channel later on tonight. We're just going to have fun. Well, I really need to do the backup channel because I need to know. I need to go know some things now. I need to know what's going on with some things. Okay, let me go ahead on and play. So Karen Reed basically is on trial. On trial for the death of her boyfriend, who is a police officer, right? Y'all, he was a police officer, right? So let's go ahead on and let me share this with you guys. All right, so boyfriend cop murder trial, Massachusetts versus Karen Reed. Okay. So let's go ahead on, and this is taken from Law and Crime, okay? Okay, let's go start from the beginning. All right, this is the court stuff here. That entire case is full of lies. If we thought love witnesses were bad, these witnesses are much worse. Seriously, Chilla? Seriously? Hey, North Side Wavy. They don't have AC in the courthouse. Oh, child. Oh. They don't have court in the what? Oh, child. She's so a second
unmuted.
All right, here you go. That's the judge? The judge is a lady? They got a window behind the judge. They got a window near the thing? in court.
Hey. All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Cadoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court in the Fulton County of Norfolk.
Hearing.
Attendance, you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. You may be seated.
Hearing. Europe, place. Look at him.
32117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Can I have counsel identify themselves for the record?
Adam Lally for the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the
Good
Commonwealth.
morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson for the street.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little, also on Hopkins Street.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Good morning, Your Honor. David United for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Ms. Giannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. So I have to ask you those same three questions. Were you all able to follow my instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone?
So you said that the judge sustains all the state's objections. So I guess it's a common thing with the judges now, sustaining the state. The witnesses weren't even interviewed until 18 months later, and the cops involved were friends with the most of the witnesses at the night of the crime. Really? Places like Massachusetts are in their own world. Check. Jerome, what do you want me to check? Jerome, what do you want me to check? What do you need me to check? What do you want me to check? Come on, what do you want me to check? All right, let me go ahead and play. Jerome, tell me what you need me to check. Text me and let me know what you want me to check, because I don't know. All right, let's go.
Since we left here on Wednesday, everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Were you also
You
able
took
to
me in.
follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read?
Okay, I like this. She posed the jurors. Thank you, After Class, for coming in as a new member. She posed the jurors when they come in, just like the old the case with that crazy guy, Darrell Brooks. Remember him? The judge always polls the jurors when they come in, and they don't do that in Georgia. I wonder why Georgia don't poll them when they come in to ask them questions, if they went this, if they seen this, if they said. But you know what? The federal judge does that. When I went to Cardi B, yeah, the federal judge does that.
Anything about this case since we left here Wednesday? Everyone said no or should be. Thank you. All right, Mr. Lally, your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. May we approach just briefly? My apologies.
Yeah, I got stuff stuck in my teeth. I got the what's name stuck in my teeth. The what do you call it? Yeah, I feel much better, y'all. I just don't know. I feel much better. Hallelujah for health. Hallelujah. I think somebody is in Albert's house done it. This court is so confusing. Chilla. I think every case, Telglass said different states so rules, yeah. Exclusives, infamous. This is not an exclusive because I don't know nothing about this case, y'all. I know nothing about it. I am learning. You guys gonna have to teach me what's going on in this case because I don't have a clue. I know my girlfriend was doing it. She worked for Court TV and she was doing it over there. But let me put some lip rouge on my lips so I can have some. So I have some moisture. What day am I watching? Day one. Supposed to be day one. Is that the jurors they showing? That's not the jurors they showing, is it? Is that the jurors? They're not showing the jurors, right? Widespread, I'm thinking too. What the jurors going to pass out? Like one almost did today. They need AC. Oh, that's the family. Okay. Yeah, I was like gonna say, oh, is that the drawers they showing like that? Don't that court look so tight and small? Look at what that must be the news people back there with the laptops and the phones and the camera. Yeah, it must be the news people. This courtroom is set up weird. The state sits right in front of the judge.
Please, Mr. Lally.
Yes, Your Honor, call Mr. Brian Higgins to the stand.
Where the black people? Not one black person in there. I got black people in y'all see any black people? I ain't trying to be funny. I just want to see if there's any black people in there. Thank you, number 29. What is the name? She put the chat.
Show them the evidence during the case down here. Should you truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. Good morning, Your Honor.
Yeah, where them nominated people at?
Good morning.
Look at that small spot. It's like tight. Look at that. Where's the black people, y'all?
Anytime you're ready, Mr. Lally.
No, my brother.
Thank you, Your Honor.
My brother used to live in
Good morning, sir.
Boston, and my
Good morning.
nephew live in
Could
Boston.
you please state your name and spell your last name?
They're black.
My name is Brian Higgins, Higgins.
And where do you live, sir?
Barnstable County,
Wait a minute, y'all.
Massachusetts.
Hold up.
And how long have you lived there?
Opening argument. Hold on. This day 17. Hold on. Let's change that. Let's go back to day. Hold on. Playlist. Let's go to Karen Reed. Where's Karen Reed? Wait, y'all. Do y'all see Karen Reed? Lives. Let's see. We need day 1. That's 5 hours ago. This is day 1? This should be day 1, right? This is the prophet. Hold on. That's not the one. Okay, 3 weeks ago. This is day 1. Hold on a second.
Bring your witness in, Mr. Lally. I'd like to see counsel at side. Bring your witness in, Mr. Lally. I'd like to see counsel at sidebar for a brief minute.
4.
But,
That's day 4. We need day 1. Where's day 1? Y'all, where's day 1? Let's do Karen Reed. All right. Okay, day 1. We need day 1. Okay, this is day 1 right here. Oh, this is Emily. That's Emily's page. Hold on. Recap, quote day 1. Opening statement. There we go, y'all. But they got opening statement, first witness call. Okay, this is the state. Okay, opening.
Good morning. So as Her Honor was telling you, this is one of the 2 opportunities that I will get to address. The first of which right now, essentially what I'm going to attempt to do, and I know you heard over the course of the impoundment process, a number of different witnesses that were listed out as far as potential witnesses in this case. So what my intent here is to provide as much of a roadmap as I can through those waters and help you to navigate sort of who these people are and what relation they have to this case. Let me start with John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe grew up in Braintree. He was 46 years old when he passed. He was the son of John O'Keefe Jr. and Margaret or Peggy O'Keefe. He was a brother to Paul O'Keefe and to his sister, Kristen Furbush. Kristen was married, and so John's brother-in-law was a man named Stephen Furbush. And they had 2 children who were very young in 2013. Now in 2013, Kristen, unfortunately, tragically passed away, succumbing to cancer in November of
Kitty
2000.
funny. Oh my God. Kitty said the only
Within
thing
months
like
of
the
that,
court is the
Mr.
clothes.
O'Keefe's brother-in-law and Kristen's husband,
Only
Stephen,
thing like
passed
the
away
court
as
is
well.
the clothes.
Now, initially, when John O'Keefe's sister passed away, sort of the initial plan for that situation was that John O'Keefe was going to move in with Stephen Forbush and kids and assist as far as raising them. And then when Stephen passed away a few months after his wife, before those plans could be finalized,
Infamous family. Hey guys.
John O'Keefe then moved in with his niece and nephew and assumed the parental role and assumed legal guardianship with respect to both of those children. Now, he was assisted in this by a great number of people within the town of Canton where the Forbushes lived and where John moved into the home with the two children there. There were other parents within the neighborhood, other parents within the children's age group. You'll hear from a number of them over the course of this trial, but they included Mrs. Carrie Roberts and Mrs. Jennifer McKay. They helped Mr. O'Keefe out during those initial stages and during the time that he assumed this role. He also got help from his work. John O'Keefe was a proud member of the Boston Police Department, had been for many years. He had been a patrolman prior to moving in with children and assuming this role. Boston Police Department helped him greatly as far as transitioning him to more of a desk role, working in the sex offender unit. With more regular hours to sort of assimilate himself to this new life and this new role that he assumes with these children.
Oh wow.
Initially, John O'Keefe lived in the house with the kids. However, in 2018, they moved into a new home, sort of a new home that they could have as their own. That home was located also within the town of Canton, sort of on the Stoughton side of Canton at One Meadows Avenue. John O'Keefe raised these children, assuming guardianship for them for about 8 years. His niece, who was the elder of the two, was about 14 at the time that John O'Keefe died, and his nephew was about 11 years old at the time that John O'Keefe died.
Wow.
January 28th, 2022 was a relatively typical day. It was a Friday going into a Saturday of January 29th. Sort of typical in the sense of most sort of suburban parents. There were a lot of activities, weekend sports, practices, games, things of that nature that the O'Keefe and Forbush family had to look forward to. One little difference when it came to that particular day of January 28th and the 29th is the weather. So there had been predicted and there was going to be a snowstorm, an insignificant, a blizzard essentially was coming in overnight that Friday and the Saturday, lasting through most of the day on Saturday the 29th. And as a result of that, most of those sort of typical, weekend routine activities that would keep most people, including those within the town of Canton, busy, have been canceled ahead of time. Everybody knew what was coming. Everybody knew essentially you weren't going to leave your house all that much the following day.
All right.
Now, also on January 28th, Mr. O'Keefe had received some news in respect to his niece. So his niece and her best friend were in 8th grade at the time, going into high school in the fall of 2022. They both applied to a private school called Bishop, and they both found out on the 28th that they had been accepted to that school. So the friend, as well as her father, a gentleman by the name of Michael Camerano, who's both he and his wife, Catherine Camerano, were friendly with John O'Keefe. They had children around the same ages as both John's niece and his nephew. And they had come over to their house on Meadows Ave that evening to celebrate the girls getting into
hate the kids.
The nephew of John, the 11-year-old, was sleeping over a friend's house that night. He left that home sometime around 7 p.m. or so, got picked up and went to sleep over at his friend's house. John O'Keefe and Michael Camerano then decided to travel out to a local establishment on Washington Street called C.F. McCarthy's Bar and Restaurant. You're going to hear testimony and you're going to see surveillance video and you're going to see receipts and all kinds of things from a variety of different establishments, all sort of located within Canton Center along that strip of Washington Street. Now, they get Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano leave the girls at home. They then go to C.F. McCarthy's, arriving there sometime between 7:30 and 8 p.m. They eventually cajole another friend of theirs, Mr. Kurt Roberts, to come out to the bar and join them as well. And there's some other people that are located within the bar, including Mr. James Sullivan, who we hear from, who was present at the bar that night as well. Eventually, the defendant, Karen Reed, joins them at this establishment here at McCarthy's, sometime just before 9 p.m. Now, John O'Keefe and Karen Reed had met sometime in 2004. They had dated briefly during that time and reconnected sometime around March of 2020, around the time of the COVID-19 sort of pandemic shutdown. They had started dating around that time period, or reconnected during that time period. And the defendant had stayed at the house in Canton several nights a week. She had helped out with the children. In the month or so leading up to Mr. O'Keefe's death, the relationship soured. You will see text messages between Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed to that effect. You will hear testimony from the children, from John's niece and nephew, in regard to things they observed within that relationship. And you'll hear testimony from other individuals as far as their observations or things that they heard. Turning to January 29th, 2022. Just after 6 a.m., the Canton Police Department receives a 911 call from a woman reporting a male party, subsequently identified as John O'Keefe, found in the snow outside a residence at 34 Fairview Road. At the time, as I mentioned, the blizzards that had been predicted was occurring, heavy snow, temperatures in the teens, wind bustling around. Officer Stephen Saraf and Officer Stephen Mullaney of the Canton Police were dispatched along with Canton Fire and EMS, and you'll hear from them in regard to their response and what they observed on scene. In particular, with Officer Saraf, you'll have as an exhibit, I anticipate, a cruiser camera video from his cruiser detailing or memorializing sort of his response in the darkness, in the blizzard type conditions as he's driving from the Canton Police Station, where he was located when he received the call, to 34 Fairview Road. When they arrived there, they observed three individuals, three females, sort of off to the left side of the property. And when I say the left side of the property, I mean if you're standing out in the street facing 34 Fairview Road, off to the left side of the property, there's a flagpole, there's a fire hydrant, there's some bushes. That is where Mr. O'Keefe is located. Off to the right side of the property is sort of the driveway and the mailbox, other things that you'll become familiar with through photographic evidence and other means through the course of this trial. The three females that the officers observed there were then identified as the defendant, Karen Reed, Mrs. Jennifer McCabe, who had received a phone call earlier in the morning from the defendant, as well as Mrs. Kerry Roberts, who had also received a phone call early that morning from the defendant. The several firefighters from the Canton Fire Department you'll hear from in regard to their observations of injuries, abrasions, and lacerations to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe. You'll hear their testimony in regard to same age as Mr. O'Keefe's. Mrs. Kolakaitis had some conversation with the defendant that evening, as well as herself and Mrs. McCabe at the water.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court.
Oh, it's a tight cut, dude. Hold it.
Karen Reed was framed. Her car never struck John O'Keefe. She did not cause his death. And that means that somebody else did. You will learn that it was no accident that John O'Keefe was found dead on the front lawn of 34 Fairview Road in Canton on January 29th of 2022. You will learn that at that address lived a well-known and well-connected law enforcement family in Canton, the Alberts. Because the Alberts were involved, and because they had close connections to the investigators in this case, Karen Reed was framed for a murder she did not commit. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. As I previously told you, my name is David Yannetti. I'm an attorney with an office in Boston. Together with attorneys Alan Jackson and Elizabeth Little, it is truly my privilege and my honor to represent Karen Reed during this trial. From a very early juncture in this case, you will question the Commonwealth's theory of the case. You will question the quality of the Commonwealth's evidence. You will question the veracity of the Commonwealth's witnesses. And you will question their shoddy and biased investigation, a faulty investigation that led to Karen Reed sitting here today. You will learn, in short, that the police did no real investigation of this case, and you will question why. You'll question why the investigators had such tunnel vision. You will question why they focused solely on Karen Reed, someone with no ties to the Canton Police Department, as opposed to the well-known and well-connected Albert family of Canton, a family that was never treated as suspects by the investigators in this case. Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found mortally injured on Brian Albert's front lawn. His body was in full view and almost right below Brian Albert's bedroom window on his front lawn. He was found wearing only one sneaker. You'll learn that Brian Albert was a Boston police officer as well, and that he was a trained first responder. Brian Albert was notified that another police officer was injured and unresponsive on his front lawn, and Brian Albert did nothing. His sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, and other civilians were on his property that morning after John O'Keefe's body was found. Police, EMTs, firefighters, police cruisers, an ambulance, fire truck, lights flashing, and first responder Brian Albert never came out of his house. Equally important for you will be the fact that the lead homicide investigators never went inside the Albert home that morning. You will learn that Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert, is a Canton police officer. It was obvious very early on that the Canton police should not be investigating the death of a man found on the property of the brother of a Canton police officer. So it was decided just about from the start that the Massachusetts State Police should take complete control of this investigation because the Canton police were conflicted out. Now, that sounded good at the time, but you'll learn that two major problems arose. First, despite the fact that they obviously had a conflict of interest, the evidence will show that the Canton police still had their hands in this investigation. You will find it astounding, but Canton police officer Kevin Albert, the reason for the conflict of interest in the first place, was continually updated about the status of this investigation while it was going on. Second, and equally troubling, is that the lead state police detective who was assigned to this case was a man named Michael Proctor. Michael Proctor, you will learn, is one of the many people in Canton with deep ties to the Albert family. Michael Proctor's own mother refers to the Alberts as the Proctor's second family. His own sister's wedding, Michael Proctor was in the wedding party with Colin Albert. And he sat at the head table of that wedding with members of the Albert family. That's the man who was chosen to lead the investigation into the suspicious death on the property of Brian Albert. That's the man who gave updates to Canton police officer Kevin Albert while the state police were supposed to be investigating what had occurred at his brother Brian Albert's house. You'll learn that right from the jump, Michael Proctor predetermined the outcome of this case. Never stepped foot inside the Albert home on January 29th, 2022. Never checked out whether there were any signs of struggle inside that home. He never called for crime scene technicians and other specialists to look for blood or other trace evidence within the home. He never asked Brian Albert for permission to go in the home and take a look around. Michael Proctor never applied for a search warrant to go in that home. Instead, he focused immediately and exclusively on Karen Reed, the outsider. You will learn that no one in the Proctor family has ever called the Reed family their second family. No one in the Proctor family had been in a wedding party with anyone from the Reed family. Karen Reed was a convenient outsider. She was most definitely not from Canton. So how did Michael Proctor feel about her? How did he treat somebody he was investigating at a point in time when he should have been keeping an open mind and focusing on obtaining all possible evidence so that he didn't miss anything? Well, you will learn that on the very day that John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, Michael Proctor was texting with his high school buddies about this supposedly secret investigation using his personal cell phone. He was revealing information about this investigation to his friends, assuming that nobody would ever find out what he was doing and what he was saying. And he was revealing his true thoughts about Karen Reed to his friends, not what he put in his sanitized police reports, his true feelings to his friends whom he trusted, and in text messages that he never thought would come into the hands of the defense in this case. Lead investigator Trooper Michael Proctor, right from the start, called Karen Reed names you would reserve only for your worst enemies. He told his friends that he hoped that she would kill herself.
Whoa.
He
Whoa.
told his friends that he had seized her cell phone. And you will learn that he knew he shouldn't have been accessing any content on her cell phone because he knew there would likely be attorney-client communications on between Karen and me at that time. He knew that he was supposed to wait for a search warrant or other permission from a judge in order to go through that phone.
You didn't do that.
But you'll learn that he went through the phone anyway, without permission. And you'll know that he did because he told his high school buddies that he was searching her phone for nude photos of Karen Reed. And he was disappointed he hadn't found any yet. That is the professional and unbiased investigator who was chosen to lead the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe. You will learn that one of Michael Proctor's high school friends commented to him that with a dead body on the front lawn, the homeowner in this case is surely going to catch a lot of grief. And do you know what Michael Proctor's response to that was? One word. Nope. And he explained why. Michael Proctor assured his buddies that the homeowner would not catch a lot of grief because, quote, the homeowner's a Boston cop too. And that one sentence, ladies and gentlemen, in Michael Proctor's own words, will explain a lot to you about how this investigation was conducted. You will be able to evaluate whether Trooper Michael Proctor treated Brian Albert and his family differently because of who they are and their relationships between his family and theirs. You will evaluate whether this investigation was on the up and up. You will decide, as a result, how valuable or worthless the prosecution's DNA evidence is or is not, in light of who controlled that evidence. You will learn that Michael Proctor's fingerprints are figuratively all over this case. His fingerprints are all over the Commonwealth's evidence. You will learn that Michael Proctor showed up at Karen Reed's parents' house in Dighton to interview her during the afternoon of January 29th, only hours after John O'Keefe's body was found dead on Brian Albert's front lawn. You'll learn that Michael Proctor had her Lexus SUV towed from her parents' home. But you'll also learn that he wrote a search warrant in which he falsified the time that he took that SUV. He swore under oath that the vehicle wasn't towed until 5:30 p.m. But you'll learn that we obtained surveillance footage that he didn't know we would get. And that surveillance footage exposed that Michael Proctor's words in that sworn affidavit were a lie. Michael Proctor had that vehicle for about 90 minutes before he claimed to have taken it. And folks, you will learn that the timing is important, very important. Because when John O'Keefe was first found on Brian Albert's front lawn, the police thoroughly searched that yard for potential evidence. And it wasn't just one officer, or two, or three. There were at least 4 officers that searched that front lawn. And that morning was the beginning of a snowstorm, but there wasn't yet much snow on the ground when they were searching that lawn. It was light out by the time they did the search, and it was getting lighter. And during that thorough search of Brian Albert's front lawn, the number of pieces of taillight that were found by a minimum of 4 officers looking for evidence was 0. It was only later in the day, when the snow was really starting to accumulate, that the police miraculously started to find pieces of taillight on the property. The police only started to find pieces of taillight after Michael Proctor had seized Karen Reed's car. They only started to find pieces of taillight after Michael Proctor had possession of her taillight. You'll learn that Trooper Michael Proctor then kept going back to the Albert residence after that day, and he claims to have kept finding pieces of taillight on multiple occasions on multiple different days. And in addition, a good week after John O'Keefe's death, Canton Police Chief Kenneth Berkowitz, an older officer on the brink of retirement with probably not the best eyesight, he supposedly was driving, happened to be driving past Brian Albert's house. And by the way, Brian Albert is someone with whom Chief Berkowitz is also good friends. And this older man allegedly spotted yet another piece of taillight from his moving vehicle. This was yet another piece of taillight that was somehow missed by the trained specialists who had previously and thoroughly searched the property. Another piece of taillight that Proctor supposedly missed in the many times he went back to the property. Michael Proctor claims that he kept finding pieces of taillight right up until February 18th of 2022, which was nearly 3 weeks after John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn. You will learn that there is no competent evidence that Karen Reed's taillight shattered at Brian Albert's property in the early morning hours of January 29th of 2022. To the contrary, you'll learn that when Karen left John at Brian Albert's house, she drove back to John's house on Meadows Ave across town in Canton. At John's home, where he lived with his 2 adopted children, Karen was drifting in and out of sleep, but she woke up for good in a panic sometime around 4 a.m. because John hadn't come home. And that was not like him at all. He had never done that before. Karen had a sinking feeling that something was wrong. Something was seriously wrong. So she got back into her Lexus and she backed up out of the garage to leave the driveway. And when she did, the right rear taillight of her Lexus struck John's parked vehicle in the driveway and her taillight cracked. That was the same taillight that the prosecution now claims was broken outside the Albert residence hours earlier at 12:30 a.m. But we have video evidence that the taillight was actually broken at 5 a.m., many hours after the prosecution needs that taillight to have been broken. There is, of course, no video of the taillight being broken at Brian Albert's house. You will eventually conclude that that's because the taillight was not broken there. Importantly, you will learn that there was an eyewitness who arrived at 34 Fairview after Karen got there. with John O'Keefe in the early morning hours of January 29th. And that eyewitness, Brian Nagel, who's the brother of Julie Nagel, who was at the after-hours party that night. He had a clear view of Karen's SUV. Brian Nagel confirms that there was no damage to her taillight at that time. Karen was sitting in the driver's seat with her hands at 10 and 2. And Ryan Nagel confirms that while Karen was inside the car, John O'Keefe was not. John O'Keefe was also not outside the car at that time. You will ultimately conclude there's only one other place he could have been. Now, going back to that 5 a.m. video from John's driveway, you will see Karen back up her Lexus and strike John's car at about 5 a.m. when she was leaving John's house to go out to look for him. And you will know that she struck his car at 5 a.m. because you will watch that video closely. You will witness that the wheels and the hubcaps on John's car are jostled and moved by Karen's SUV. And you will conclude that that video depicts exactly when Karen's taillight was cracked, long after she dropped off John that night at 34 Fairview. And you will learn that part of the reason that Karen's Lexus hit John's car was that Karen was panicked at that time. Where is John? Why didn't he come home? What happened to him? And you will learn that she was racking her brain for what possibly could have happened. And like many of us, was worried about the worst. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? That was what she was saying, both to herself and to other people later that morning when she went back to 34 Fairview. She couldn't think of anything else that made sense. She certainly didn't consider in a million years that someone from within the Albert home could have beaten up John and left him to die on the front lawn. Now, that was over 2 years ago. Karen didn't know then what you will learn during this trial. Karen didn't know that Brian Albert's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, left the after-hours party at Brian Albert's house sometime after Karen pulled away. She didn't know that after Jennifer McCabe dropped off some people elsewhere, she returned to her own home. Karen didn't know that Jennifer McCabe climbed some stairs in her home and eventually made it into her bedroom with her cell phone. Karen didn't know that Jennifer McCabe settled in at 2:27 in the morning on January 29th, 2022, and typed a Google search that she would later delete. 2:27 in the morning was over 3 hours before John O'Keefe's body was found on Brian Albert's lawn. 2:27 was over 3 hours before anyone knew or suspected that John O'Keefe was missing or hurt or in trouble. And at 2:27 in the morning, you will learn that with no one watching her, thinking she was alone with her thoughts, and not worrying that anyone would know what she was doing, Jennifer McCabe typed in the following Google search: how long to die in the cold?
Whoa.
Now, she misspelled the first word, so the actual search was "how long to die in the cold," but you'll get the point. You will ask yourself, why would somebody Google how long does it take for someone to die in the cold, unless that person knew someone who either was in that situation or would be in that situation?
Wow.
You will question during this trial, who was it who actually did die in the cold at some point that night, sometime after Jen McCabe was asking Google for an answer to her question.
Why do people do
And you'll
that?
learn that the answer to that question
COVID.
was John O'Keefe. The medical examiner in this case will testify that one of the causes of John O'Keefe's death was hypothermia. John O'Keefe died in part because he was left to die in the cold. Now, the Commonwealth will try to dispute the timing of that Google search. They'll try to claim that there were only 2 Google searches at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. after John's body was found. But one problem for the Commonwealth will be that we have retained Richard Green, one of the leading computer forensic experts in the country. Rick Green has forensically analyzed Jennifer McCabe's phone, both manually and using every appropriate type of computer software to solve this issue. Rick Green will confirm for you that Jennifer McCabe did indeed make that search at 2:27 a.m. And another problem for the Commonwealth is that you will hear and see other evidence that will confirm that Jennifer McCabe is lying when she denies making that Google search at 2:27 a.m. You will conclude that before she went to bed, if she went to bed that night, Jennifer McCabe wanted to know just how long it would take for someone to die in the cold. And a big question in this trial for you will be, when was John O'Keefe left to die in the cold? I expect the Commonwealth will try to persuade you that he was left there sometime around 12:30 a.m. because they're going to try to prove to you that Karen Reed hit him and that his body stayed there the entire night until first responders arrived at 6 a.m. and his body was taken to the hospital. But you will learn that there are big problems with the Commonwealth's theory of this case. You will learn that there were 6 people at that after-hours party at Brian Albert's house, all of whom left by the front door and would have been confronted by John O'Keefe's lifeless body on that lawn if he was actually there at that time. Those 6 people walked out the front door to 34 Fairview, walked to their cars, either in the driveway or parked in front of the house. Brian Albert's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, was there. Her husband, Matthew McCabe, was there. ATF federal agent Brian Higgins was there, who was also Brian Albert's friend. Sarah Levinson, a friend of Brian Albert Jr., was there. Julie Nagel, another friend of Brian Albert Jr., was there. And Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert's daughter, was also there. All of them leaving the residence. Each of those people left 34 Fairview in Canton, where Brian Albert lived. Each of them walked out facing the front lawn, where the Commonwealth will tell you that a 6'2", nearly 220-pound big man in dark clothing was sprawled on the front lawn when there was only a dusting of white snow on the ground. He was supposedly sprawled on that lawn, just feet from where these people were walking when they left the residence. And you will learn that not one of these people saw John O'Keefe laying. Not one. And you know who else saw no one laying outside in the early morning hours of January 29th? The snowplow driver in charge of plowing the street for the city of Canton. And this is another big problem for the Commonwealth. You will learn that Michael Proctor, here's that name again, wrote a report where he claimed that the DPW supervisor had told him that Fairview Road had not been plowed that night. Proctor's total investigation on this issue consisted of one phone call and no follow-up. He just submitted his report that simply said the road hadn't been plowed that night, and perhaps thinking that no one else would follow up either. But you'll learn that when it came to finding out the truth, it's not that Proctor couldn't find the truth, it's that he wouldn't. But fortunately, you'll learn that we would, and we did. You'll learn that within weeks after January 29th, we sent our investigator, a former Medford police officer named Paul Makowski, to the Canton DPW to try.
Hold on, y'all. I just want to show y'all something. You know me, I gotta look at some stuff. Look how much they raised for her legal fees, y'all. Look how much they raised for her legal fees. Look, $320,945. Do you see that? They raised that much for her legal fees. Justice for Karen Reed, legal fees defense. Can you believe that? Wow. Y'all see that? They raised the crap out of her money, the money for her. I tell you, white people know how to help their own. Just the black people don't know how to do that. All right, hold on. Let's go back.
Finally get to the bottom of this. Paul Mikowski talked to the same supervisor at the DPW, a man named Michael Trotta, whom Proctor claimed had told him that the street hadn't been plowed that night. You'll learn that Paul Mikowski found out that Michael Proctor was not telling the truth. You'll learn that Michael Trotta from the DPW told Paul Mikowski, our investigator, that the street was indeed plowed that night, and that the name of the plow driver was Brian Laughlin. So Paul Mikowski tracked down Brian Laughlin. He asked Mr. Laughlin if the state police or any investigators had ever spoken to him. And the answer came back, no. You will then learn what Brian Laughlin had to say about what he saw and didn't see that night, and you will be shocked. Brian Laughlin told Paul Mikowski that he was driving a big snowplow in Canton that night. You'll learn that the nickname for it at the DPW was Frankenstein because it had a lot of spare parts and it had been around forever. Brian Laughlin told Paul Mikowski that when he plows the streets of Canton in Frankenstein, he's very careful. He makes sure to check not only the roads in front of him, but also the yards to the side of his plow. He makes sure not to hit a fire hydrant or a tree or an animal, or heaven forbid, a person lying in the snow. He's always on the lookout. You'll learn that Brian Laughlin passed by 34 Fairview in his plow, traveling right by Brian Albert's front lawn at 2:30 in the morning. You'll learn that Brian Laughlin confirms that at about 2:30, when he went by that house, John O'Keefe was not on that front lawn. So you'll learn that about 2 hours after the Commonwealth claims that Karen Reed somehow incapacitated John O'Keefe, an eyewitness confirms that not only could it not have happened, but it didn't happen. But you'll learn that Brian Laughlin also provides some other troubling testimony for the Commonwealth. You'll learn that after making that pass at 2:30 in the morning and seeing no body, he showed up again at the entrance to Fairview Road, intending to make another pass down it with his plow. This time, however, at about 3:30 in the morning, he looked down the street and he saw that parked right next to Brian Albert's front lawn, right in the very area where John O'Keefe's body was later found at 6 a.m., Brian Laughlin saw a Ford Edge parked on the side of the road. You will learn that the police have done zero investigation to discover whose Ford Edge that was. You'll learn that members of the Albert family drove Ford Edges. You'll learn that the police to this day claim not to know who was parked right next to the area where John O'Keefe's body was later found. You will learn that while investigators on this case, including Michael Proctor, completely ignored the snowplow driver who went right by the Albert residence, the defense not only tracked him down and interviewed him, but the plow driver actually took our investigator on a ride back past the residence to explain the precise route that he had taken on January 29th. You'll learn that some other curious things were going on in the early morning hours of January 29th. Curious things that the police in this case utterly failed to investigate. For example, after people left the after-hours party at Brian Albert's house on January 29, Brian Albert claimed that he had no contact with anyone but his wife until he was woken up in the morning. But you will learn that he was ultimately called to ATF agent Brian Higgins, his friend, the same friend who had been at his house earlier that night. And that was at 2:22 in the morning. You'll learn that Brian Higgins called him back 17 seconds later, and they connected 22 seconds on their cell phones. You'll be asked to consider just how long 22 seconds is and what could be said and discussed during that long of a phone call. You will consider that phone call in the context of the other curious things that were going on during the early morning hours of January 29th. You will learn about the following in chronological order. 2:12 a.m., Jennifer McCabe arrives at her home. 2:22 a.m., Brian Albert calls Brian Higgins. 2:22 a.m., 17 seconds later, Higgins calls him back. And Brian Albert and Brian Higgins are on the phone together for 22 seconds. 2:23 a.m., Jennifer McCabe climbs the stairs to her bedroom. 2:27 a.m., Jennifer McCabe searches on Google how long to die in the cold. 2:30 a.m., plow driver Brian Laughlin confirms there was no body on Brian Albert's front lawn. 3:30 a.m., Brian Laughlin confirms that a Ford Edge was parked right where John O'Keefe's body was later found. The Commonwealth will not be able to successfully dispute any of those facts, yet I expect that they will persist in asking you to convict Karen Reed anyway. You will learn that there are other major problems with the Commonwealth's theory. You'll learn that when John O'Keefe was found, he did not look like he had been hit by a car. You'll learn that he looked to have been attacked and beaten up. You'll learn that John O'Keefe was a large 6'2" man who, if positioned behind a Lexus SUV, would have had his torso completely exposed to the rear of that vehicle, including to the taillight. You'll learn that no part of his torso was injured. There was no bruising, no ridges, no scratches, no punctures. You'll learn that his chest and hips and legs were pristine, despite the Commonwealth's contention that he was hit by a 6,000-pound vehicle. The evidence will show that what was not pristine was his right arm. You will take one look at that arm, and you will conclude that a car did not cause those injuries. The injuries to John O'Keefe's arm appear to be consistent with scratch marks and claw marks, marks that make it look as though an animal had attacked his arm. But you won't have to rely just on your common sense when you look at those photos. You'll hear from an expert forensic pathologist who is world-renowned, who has personally conducted thousands of autopsies. And he will testify that those marks are consistent with scratch and claw marks and bite marks from an animal, including a German Shepherd. You'll learn that on January 29th of 2022, Brian Albert's family dog, Chloe, was a German Shepherd. You'll learn that Brian Albert has admitted that this dog is not good around strangers. You'll learn that on January 29th of 2022, John O'Keefe would have been a stranger to that dog. And you'll learn that Chloe had been the beloved family dog for the Alberts for 7 years. The Albert family loved Chloe. But strangely, as we discuss this dog today, the Albert family doesn't have its beloved Chloe anymore. You'll learn that Brian Albert was called to testify before the grand jury regarding this matter in April of 2022, and that he did testify about his German Shepherd, Chloe, during that grand jury testimony. And you'll learn that not long after that testimony, Brian Albert and his family rehomed their beloved family dog. They gave away their family dog, and Chloe, the German Shepherd, is therefore now gone. Now, the Commonwealth will try to take your attention away from all of these troubling facts and try to persuade you not to consider their shocking lack of investigation of anyone else, not to consider John O'Keefe's injuries, not to consider the fact that multiple people left the residence and saw no body, not to consider the fact that the snowplow driver was specifically looking at 2:30 a.m. and there was no body there, not to consider the fact that two people in the house were communicating at 2:22 a.m. but denied speaking to each other for 22 seconds, and not to consider the fact that one of their witnesses, who was also present at home, was unusually curious at 2:27 a.m. about how long it would take for someone to die in the cold. The Commonwealth will instead try to persuade you that Karen Reed supposedly had a motive to kill John O'Keefe because they were not getting along. You'll hear about their trip to Aruba over New Year's Eve, and that Karen was upset that John had been flirting with another woman. And you will hear that Karen considered exploring her options after that trip, which led her to a get-together at one point with ATF federal agent Brian Higgins, although that never went anywhere. But you'll also hear that in January of 2022, after the Aruba trip, and not long before January 28th and 29th, John O'Keefe was making long-term plans with Karen, including a family trip with her and the kids, and also another trip with Karen and another couple for months into the future. And you'll see video of how John and Karen were interacting on the night in question. You'll see for yourself how they looked at each other from the video at the waterfall that night. Nobody who saw them that night saw anything wrong. There was nothing wrong. I mean, like any couples, occasionally they would bicker or disagree, but you will hear zero evidence of any domestic violence in that home whatsoever. John never raised a hand in anger toward Karen, and Karen never raised a hand in anger toward John. That simply wasn't who they are. You will conclude the notion that Karen Reed chose the start of a snowstorm to suddenly become violent out of the blue for the first time and intentionally kill her boyfriend by hitting him with her car and leaving him there with a house full of people inside is patently ridiculous. You will also learn that what's not ridiculous is that someone, not Karen Reed, ambushed John O'Keefe. Somebody probably didn't mean to kill him, but somebody went too far. You'll learn that Trooper Proctor failed to investigate motives that other people had to harm John O'Keefe. You'll learn that Proctor failed to investigate anything or anyone who was in the Albert residence that night. You'll learn that he failed to investigate the antagonistic relationship between members of the Albert family and John O'Keefe. You'll learn that apparently nobody investigates the Albert family of Canton. Remember, on day one, Trooper Proctor was asked whether the homeowner, Brian Albert, would catch a lot of grief. And Trooper Proctor himself said it. Nope. Homeowner's a Boston cop too. So folks, the trial is now about to start and the witnesses are about to start testifying. On behalf of Karen Reed, I ask that you do two things during this trial. First, I ask that you pay attention to all of the evidence. The way trials work, the prosecution gets to present its case first. They conduct their direct examinations first. So we respectfully ask that you wait for us. We will get to cross-examine their witnesses, and you will find that cross-examination is the key that unlocks the truth. Wait for us. You'll be glad that you did. Second, I ask that you keep your eye on the ball. You have one job and one job only to do during this trial, and that job, quite frankly, is not to solve this case. Your only job during this trial is to determine whether the Commonwealth, the prosecution, has proven to you each and every element of the crimes they have charged, beyond a reasonable doubt, to a moral certainty. The prosecution will fail to prove this case to a moral certainty. They will fail to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. You will reasonably doubt their case because their theory of the case does not make sense. You will reasonably doubt their case because Karen Reed was framed, and the evidence shows that, despite the fact that the police never ever investigated that angle of this case at all. Because the prosecution will not prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty, we will stand before you again at the end of this trial and ask that you find Karen Reed not guilty.
All right, that was the opening argument on the defense side. We heard a little bit of the prosecution side. It was kind of boring, but what I'm gonna do is someone was talking about Turtle Boy. So we're going to see what Turtle Boy says of the opening argument. And then after that, we'll go on to my second channel. We're going to act up on my second channel. All right, let's go ahead on and check out Turtle Boy on this part. Hold on a second. Hold on. Shout out to y'all wonderful people. Fair use. Mr. Turtle Boy. We're going to look at his channel for a second. All right, this is Turtle Boy, y'all. Turtle Boy is the one that has been covering this case. Oh, let's see what he say.
Sorry about the delay there. Give me a minute. Okay. How's everyone doing?
All right, Turtle Boy.
We're live, I'm assuming?
Let's see what he's going to say about this case.
Okay, we are live.
He has a lot on this case.
All right. Just got to the streaming area. I just got back from the festivities down there. Busy day. We are going to turn on live coverage of this event.
Check out
and
Turtle
stream it, and we'll talk about this.
Channel right there. I just put it
I
in.
made it. Fucking hungry too. I'm going jacket off too, I think. Jacket off.
He said jacket off. Ooh, that doesn't sound too good, doesn't it? He's going to take his jacket off.
Cramp quarters in here. So who do we got? Is that the jury? Oh, I thought that was the jury. Oh, wait, they talking?
That's the same thing I said. I thought it was a jury. That's the same thing, y'all.
All right, good morning, jurors. Before we begin, I have to ask you 3 questions that I'm going to ask you about any aspect of this case.
You going?
My name is Michael Camerano.
Yeah, what he says.
McCarthy's.
Here's specifically drunk and she observed Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant walking toward the defendant's vehicle, and specifically the defendant walking towards the driver's side. Now, you'll hear testimony from a Christopher and Julie Albert, who were people who were at one point neighbors of Mr. O'Keefe. Well, from being neighbors.
We'll fast forward
Okay.
a little bit. I like to hear
Around the same.
what he got to
She
say.
answers that phone call. That she indicates the defendant requested her to do it, and that at 6:23 and 6:24.
Yeah, the defense agrees with that, by the way. They agree. That happened at 6:24.
We'll hear testimony from Ms. Roberts, Ms. McCabe, the firefighters, and the responding Kim.
Hey, y'all.
DNA was also
I
sent.
want to hear what he has to say.
In order to go through that phone,
It's boring because, you know,
sister-in-law Jennifer McCabe, someone,
we heard this part.
not
Checking my account after over 20 times after a warrant was issued for my arrest to see if I had posted about it. That's who Paul O'Keefe brought with him to court today. That's what people are telling me. Fucking disgusting. Fucking disgusting. Like, Paul O'Keefe is a piece of shit. A piece of shit. Disgusting. Well, I was fucking looking at my kids and being like, am I not gonna see you guys for the next 60 days? Because this lying whore made up a fucking lie about me.
Uh-oh. What did they say about
Fucking evil. Fucking evil, man.
what?
Evil. Evil.
What did they say about him? Let's back it up a little bit. Did y'all know what they said
She
about
didn't
him?
wrap again. Wait till you see all the messages. We're gonna go over it all, man. I'm gonna do a whole thing on that.
Hold on.
Just the whole time there would be bombshells.
Okay, let's
They told us, like, wait till the trial comes. Yeah, okay, I waited. Apparently their plan, the prosecution's plan is just to talk about the same bullshit they always talked about. See if McCarthy's, the waterfall, like what shards of cocktail glass, like what, like that's the plan. The same shit. The defense turns out is the ones we should have been waiting for because they have some new shit that we didn't know about. Michael Proctor texting whoever and saying, we're not going to look at Brian Albert because he's a Boston cop. He said that. He fucking put that in a text message. Never mind the nude shit, which is just a whole, I don't even know how that relates to this, but it just shows what a piece of shit he is. In case anybody's doubting all of this other stuff, like that he's corrupt and all that, he's also a piece of shit. And then he said that he wishes Karen Reed would kill herself Yeah, because then if Karen Reed killed herself, then he would never get exposed, would he? They'd never have to go to trial. And everybody would live happily ever after, right? Except for John, because those motherfuckers killed him. Can you believe this shit? Can you believe this? And meanwhile, they're just dropping bombs and haymakers left and right. I got to get in this courtroom for one day. I got to. We see Jessica Machado there. So they do have seats for them. And by the way, it's bullshit that I'm going to say it's bullshit that Peggy O'Keefe sitting there crying. Okay. It is. I get it. Her son died, etc. Cindy Chestnut was told she couldn't cry and there was no doubt who killed Cindy Chestnut's husband. That piece of shit. And she couldn't cry. They were told you can't cry. It's going to prejudice the jury. Same judge, Canoni, isn't telling Peggy O'Keefe she can't cry. And like, why isn't she crying when she hears all this other shit? People are always saying feel bad for her, whatever. Okay, you know she's a grown woman, man. She can hear all the shit that we can all hear. Like she just heard everything, and she just doesn't care. Just doesn't care. Just doesn't care.
Yeah.
So I'm going on Howie. I was just invited on Howie. I'll be on Howie tonight. Howie's not on. He has a fill-in. So I always say yes to Howie. So I'm going to be going on Howie at 4:35 p.m. I'm going to ask if we do a little trial still might be going on. Don't want to miss testimony. So they want me on at 4:35. I asked if we could do a little later because I don't know how long this is going to go. Who's sitting behind the O'Keefe's? Carl Dougal, Carl the Cuck, and Jackie Chinless. Hold on one sec. I'm going to mute this.
You could see his mouth moving. He said, "Oh, S-H-I-T." Yeah, look at him. Can y'all read his lips?
So apparently the fake victim has shown up to the courtroom. That's what I was just told.
The fake.
Which is just fucking wild if true. Just wild. I'll be right back. I got to take a leak.
Oh, did y'all hear him? He said, "I'll be right back. I got to take a leak." Yeah. This dude is like raw. Yeah, he's raw. Oh, Lord have mercy. He is so raw. I hope he washed his hands. Yeah, put him and Randa in that thing. You know what? Let me get. Is she? Let me call her. Hold on a second. Call Randa. She ain't answering the phone.
Your call has.
She's not answering the phone, y'all. See if she's sleeping. She better get her butt up. Guys, so he's still using the bathroom. Oh.
I'm back. So apparently, get this. This is what people are telling me now. That Paul O'Keefe arrived with the fake victim, the woman who, lied about me. They lied about everything. Lied about being pregnant. Okay, whatever. He showed up. He's testifying today, and he showed up with her. Can you believe that? With her. If you have any sympathy for that piece of shit, Paul O'Keefe, I hope you lose it right now. I hope you fucking lose it.
Oh,
he
Lord.
showed up with her, bro. With her. For his brother's fucking trial, that's how unserious Paul O'Keefe is about the murder of his brother, is that he is showing up with and making it a circus, bringing Turtle Boy's ex-mistress, who is famous now for lying about being pregnant, lying about being assaulted, right? Who stalked Karen Reed and Alan Jackson at the Omni Seaport Hotel. Check out the call logs I posted yesterday. Who, by the way, we haven't even discussed what she did on December 4th. We have her search history, by the way. Would you like to hear what she was searching for on Christmas Eve? She called Brian Tully on Christmas Eve at 11 a.m. to say that she was allegedly assaulted on me. Again, 11 a.m. That's what time she called. Okay? Here is what she did prior to that. Let me read what she did prior to that. According to her things. I wrote this down. She got DoorDash and went online shopping before calling Brian Tully. After I allegedly just assaulted her, by the way. She called, just didn't call that night, got DoorDash. She went on mass courts looking for a way to report me for finding her public court documents. She bought lingerie at 9:40 off of Victoria's Secrets before calling Brian Tully and reporting that. At noon, after reporting me to Brian Tully, she logged into a Twitter account called Aiden Cranks to Come. Aiden Cranks to Come, C-U-M, after reporting me. At 1:30 p.m., she went on her Plenty of Fish account, which apparently she had the whole time. Her Plenty of Fish account. At 3 o'clock, she went on the El Gattani OnlyFans Twitter account that she made in order to make it look like I made it like her. Then she began periodically checking my account after over 20 times after a warrant was issued for my arrest to see if I had posted about it. That's who Paul O'Keefe brought with him to court today. That's what people are telling me. Fucking disgusting. Fucking disgusting. Like, Paul O'Keefe is a piece of shit. A piece of shit. Disgusting. Well, I was fucking looking at my kids and being like, am I not gonna see you guys for the next 60 days? Because this lying whore made up a fucking lie about me. Fucking evil. Fucking evil, man. Evil. Evil. She didn't wrap. Again, wait till you see all the messages. We're going to go over it all, man. I'm going to do a whole thing on that. Yeah, how does his wife? Well, Paul fucks other women. I mean, I know that as a fact. And his wife fucks other dudes. I mean, maybe they're swingers, whatever. Nobody cares. Obviously, she's probably fucking him. I mean, who are we kidding? He shows up to court with her. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That is wild. I mean, thank God. No, he deserves. I hope to God he is, because there's only one way that ends, Paul. There's only one. The stats show that there's only one way that ends. Unfucking believable.
Hi, y'all. Had to step out for.
Somebody said still needs confirmation. If that's true.
Look,
If that's
look
true.
what I got. Shirt from.
People are telling me they saw it. Someone inside the buffer zone saw it. We'll see. That's just what people are saying. That is what people are saying. I haven't seen a picture of it yet. Remember, she testified at my hearing the other day that Paul O'Keefe invited her to the hearing on 226. Invite that she said in court that I was invited there by the family.
Oh, here she go, y'all. Here she go.
And so I wrote down to Tim, ask which member.
Ma'am,
She said Paul.
I
Paul
heard
O'Keefe.
that you had. I'm on live.
Paul O'Keefe.
I heard that you had. Wait.
Yeah, I do love how the poll is still neck and neck.
In here, just
Fucking disgusting, man.
that
disgusting.
you had church and cussing church today.
Okay.
Hey, cussing church. Girl, I don't do no fucking church on my channel.
They said cussing church. Why you cussing?
They said cussing church. Oh Lord. I don't do no
Imagine they bring her in.
channel.
Look, I'm about to end this live because I need to know what happened on your channel because everybody talking about it.
You know, I just had to go, my son and his friends. I had to have a mama conversation.
Oh, okay. Look, I'm gonna end this live, y'all. I'm about to end this live.
Hey, do you got me alive?
Yes, I do.
Wow, that would be wild.
You hear me?
Yes, they hear you.
Clearly, I think that's understood.
They said they had a very good cussing time.
I mean,
my channel is
that makes sense. I mean, is there any? They were meant for each other. Clearly, that basically says it all.
Okay, well, they tell. Oh, look, I'm gonna end this live. Hold on.
But can we just talk about all the shit that just happened and David Yannetti?
No, what happened is,
on your live.
no, we were listening to this guy that's covering the Karen Reed case, and so.
Okay, I was talking shit about Bozo.
Oh, wait. We are live. I'm going to go to the second channel. Hold on. Y'all, let's go to the other channel because they want you to go live, Randa, but.
We hear you, Randa.
You see them? All right, let me end this and I'm going to go to the backup channel because. All right, let's end this. All right, guys, we ending this.